and that's something that we are dealing with every single day, religious wickedness. Depending upon your understanding and first and foremost your reverence for God, right, will dictate what happens next. What's inside of here is going to come out. It's going to be reflected in your life. It's going to show what you believe. There was some concern. That plant was looking pretty jacked up, as Pastor David said. That plant was looking, and I thought, yeah, well, up to this point, she's going to kill the plant. You know, and particularly, specifically, he wants to affect your salvation, right? I assume that since I knew this, that it was unnecessary for me to know the basics. That's the problem. So you want to get you the basics, and you receive it with gladness, right? There is a very present force, an enemy who wants to influence the mind of those who are in top leadership. My mom gave me in fact, my mom did not give me a rose bush. She gave Angel a rose bush for, I believe it was Mother's Day, right? So it says there's principalities in every area, every office in this world, right, starting at the top. So that's what he wants to attack. And if he can get you to question that, he can get you to question a whole bunch of other things, you know, so. Has a lot to do with what God has placed on my heart. So, as you can see, the title of this, if I was going to place the text or subject to this, would be "You cannot resist what you are unaware exists." This is war, and that's pretty much has been a theme here lately. That Yahweh is preparing us; He's teaching us to be combat ready, and that's what our goal is. We sing songs, "Soldier in the Army of the Lord." That's true. That's true. This is war. This is a fight, and every single day, from the moment that you wake up, there is an enemy, a very present enemy who wants to kill, steal, and destroy. And you know, I've said this before, even as far as not even when you're awake, a lot of times when you're asleep as well. He wants to influence the mind. He wants to influence the way that we think. And how do we think? We think based upon how we believe. So that's what we're going to get into today. And forgive me if I talk at you, for the most part at the beginning here, as opposed to talk to you, which we'll do a little bit later on. And I say that because this first part is pretty much, fundamentals and review. But I think it would be remiss to assume that everyone has all the basics. So we're going to try to take our time and get to what we can today, but still be respectful of the time, as Walter has told me. So
come back next week.
Okay. All right, but we'll try to get out here in pretty reasonable time here. All right, so as you can see here again, once I said this format here, it's not your, I learned how to do outlines back in school, right? But this is a little off. Things got changed this morning. So I was up this morning and I thought I was going to teach on another subject as far as grace and peace, but that's for later date. So you will. So again, forgive me if I talk at you for the first part here, and then when we get to the middle of it, we'll be able to expound a little bit more. All right, so we can read along here for time here, okay, folks. So this is more, and we know that James, the book of James, talks about this. It talks about the war that is taking place, okay? We're going to go there real quick. The book of James, the 4th chapter. First, start at the first verse. It says, "From whence come wars and fightings among you? Come they not hence even of your lusts that war in your members? It says, you lust and have not, ye kill and desire to have and cannot obtain. Ye fight in war," is that word again, war. "Yet ye have not because ye ask not. Ye ask and receive not because ye ask amiss, that ye may consume upon your lusts. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God." Verse 5 says, "Do you think that the scripture saith in vain, the spirit that dwelleth in us lusteth to envy? But he giveth more grace." Everybody say grace.
Grace.
"Wherefore he said, God resisteth the proud, but giveth grace unto the humble." And then verse 7 is what we want to key on. It says, "Submit yourselves therefore to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you." And as you can see here on the outline here, in the topic here, is you cannot resist what you are unaware exists. So what we want to do is look a little bit closer and define some of these words, like I said, from the basic fundamental. This is something we're dealing with in any walk of life, any profession, anything that you want to be more proficient on, you're going to have to practice on the basic fundamentals. That was one of the things I think long ago when I started playing on the keyboard. One of the worst things that could take place with someone who knows a little something about something is that you forget to do the basic fundamentals. And so when I sat down with my instructor, I think I took lessons maybe 1.5 times. I think by the second time I was like, I'm not coming back. Why? Because I learned something on the keyboard, and I assumed that since I knew this, that it was unnecessary for me to know the basics. And that's the problem there. So we want to get to the basics, the basic fundamentals. Okay, so you see here that the word submit says to subordinate, reflexively to obey. So basically to obey. Also says to be under obedience. And then resist, in the Greek, says to oppose. And the definition for it says to set against, to put in opposition with a view or counterbalance or countervail, and thus to hinder, defeat. The hinder, defeat, that's what our Father Yahweh wants us. He wants us to overcome all things, hinder, defeat, destroy, or prevent effect, as to oppose one argument to another. You know, the Bible talks about, in the Old Testament, it says that a wise man scaleth the wall, and the wise man scales the wall and casts down the confidence thereof. So in other words, the strength in anything, in any area of life, you want to know where someone is, you look at what they do. Right? The Bible says that even a child is known by his ways. And so you can see by that behavior what a person does, says, or reacts. That's a part of, that's something that they believe. That's a direct reflection of what is taking place inside their belief system. Okay. So once again, this is war. You see Ephesians 6 and 10. Let's go there real quick. And like I said, I know that this is a review for most of us, but it's necessary. That's right. Ephesians 6:10. We're going to start with verse 10. It says, finally, my brother, be strong in the Lord and the power of his might. Note there that it says his might, that we are to be strong in the Lord, in Yahweh, and the power of his might. Verse 11 says, put on the whole armor of God that ye may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, which is where we want to stop and pause for a second. As you can see here in the outline, that's what we want to pay attention to. It says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities. And we're going to go through some of these terms and definitions. In fact, this is something that Walt has dealt with a little while back. And so we want to look at it again. It says, but against principalities, which is magistrates. The 1828 dictionary says a public civil officer invested with the executive government of some branch. Okay, so, and we know even in our basic school, the executive branch, the highest executive branch in this country is what? The president. And even in the outline in the Blue Letter Bible, it talks about that, meaning a reflection of the executive branch. And so it says there's principalities in every area, every office in this world. Right. Starting at the top, where there is a very present force, an enemy who wants to influence the mind of those who are in top leadership. And so therefore, if it's in the executive branch, then you know that it flows down, that it's everywhere else. All right, so the principalities, magistrate, the public civil, we already read that. It says against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world. Notice it says rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual, which is religious wickedness in high places. And that's something that we are dealing with every single day. Religious wickedness. I was, like I said, Walt brought this out a while back, and it was something that I'd already been looking at. But that word right there, religious wickedness in high places. Okay, so let's look and review again about what is meant by rulers of darkness. Rulers of darkness, the Greek says a world ruler, right? An epithet, which means a title of Satan. Right, the Blue Letter Bible outline of biblical usage says, it goes a little bit further, it says the rulers of darkness of this world, meaning the devil and his demons. That's right. That's exactly what we're dealing with. We're talking about not only Satan, but also demonic forces who want to influence, control our minds. Right?
That's right.
Supporting scriptures of that. With emphasis, we want to keep on the rules of darkness of this world, the world that we're in, the world that we're living in. 2 Corinthians 4:4. It says, in whom the God of this world hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them. Okay, notice it says the God of this world. Like I said, these are supporting scriptures that just reaffirm what we just read in Ephesians 6:10. And then also to something that I hadn't paid much attention to, but John 14:30. John 14:30 says, hereafter I will not talk much. And to give a little context to this, this is when Jesus, he starts off with a very familiar passage of John 14:1. It says, let not your heart be troubled. If I'm not mistaken, you believe in God, believe also in me. So this is a little context in where Yeshua is speaking to the disciples and preparing them about what is to come. And then he's also comforting them by telling them that when I leave, what will come? The Comforter, the Holy Spirit. So a little context to that. But here in verse 30, it says, hereafter I will not talk much with you, for the prince, which means chief ruler, And once again, we see that word again, what? Magistrate. Remember we saw that back in Ephesians 6 and 10, right? 6 and 12. Chief ruler, magistrate, says prince and ruler of this world cometh. And says, and hath nothing in me, which means neither anything, never, none. And what was interesting on this verse right here was that it talks about that Satan is coming. He says he's the prince of the world. We'll have other scriptures that says that. In fact, let me read that verse 5, Luke 4, 5 and 6. It says, and the devil taking him up into the high mountain. Remember, this is the passage where Satan attempts to tempt Jesus. He did tempt him to test him. And we know what happened, but let's read here in verse 5. It says, and the devil taking him up into a high mountain showed unto him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. Okay? Once again, we see kingdoms of the world, which goes ahead, which also gives support to John 14:30. And then also, verse 6, and the devil said unto him, all this power will I give thee, and the glory of them, for that is delivered unto me, and to whomsoever I will give it. So, once again, this is just giving more understanding, clarity to verse 30 in John. But he says that hereafter, Jesus says, I will not talk with you much. He says, but the prince, the ruler of this world, is coming. He has nothing in me. That nothing in me, when we break that down, he's talking about he has no authority in me. However, as we see here, he does have authority where? In this world. In this world. All right, so we'll continue. Here it says Satan wants to attack our belief system, our faith, and the battlefield begins within our minds. Matthew 12:34 says, O generations of vipers, how can ye, being evil, speak good things, for out of the abundance of the heart? The heart means what? Mind. That's right, the thoughts or feelings of the mind. And it says that the mouth will speak. So what's inside of you is going to come out, right? We talked about that earlier. And then also 2 Corinthians 4:13, it says, we having the same spirit of faith according as it is written. It says, I believe, right? And therefore have I spoken. It says, we also believe and therefore speak. So once again, just giving more information, more transparency that what's inside of here is going to come out. It's going to be reflected in your life. It's going to show what you believe. So it's important for us to make sure that we are believing correctly. Right. And how do we believe what's correctly? The Bible says that man cannot live by bread alone, right, but by every word that proceeded out of the mouth of God. Right. Let's go further here on point 2. It says, what else should we do? And the answer is that to be ready. 1 Peter 3:15. It says, but sanctify. And once again, like I said, this is how I learned, because sanctify coming up meant a lot of things to me. And probably some of you guys too. There was some pretty strange things that, in being in some holiness church that, you can get some misconception about what it is to be sanctified. Okay, so it says, but sanctify, to venerate, right? What does it mean, venerate? Well, sanctify means venerate. It says to regard with respect and reverence the Lord God in your heart, which means what? Mind. As we're talking about controlling our mind, right? Thinking, believing the correct things. And be ready, which means to what? Be prepared. Be prepared. So he's saying, he says, be prepared always to give an answer, reasoning, the mental faculty or motive. Right? So be prepared to give an answer. 1828 dictionary says that which incites to action. right? Yeah. That which determines the choice or the moves, the will. So it says, but sanctify the Lord in your hearts, and always to give, and be prepared to give an answer. It says, to every man that asketh you a question of hope, expectancy, and you know that hope is expectancy of what? Good with what? Pleasure. That is in you with meekness and fear. Yeah. All right, so we see here again, so basically what he's saying, it says that always be prepared to tell somebody why you believe what you believe. As a believer, that's basically what this is getting at. And so, and what came up earlier this week is Angel gave me a call, and she was sharing with us about someone very close to us, a young man who wasn't exactly prepared, ready to give an answer of the hope, the expectancy of good with pleasure. And it kind of caught us by surprise on that. And the reason why that is, like you said, again, this is war. And the devil wants to steal that faith. That's what he's after. We'll get into that a little later. It's after the word. The word is what he wants to bring about doubt into your heart, into your minds, to give you a little bit of hesitation. What about this? What about that? And particularly, specifically, he wants to affect your salvation, right? It's our belief in the Bible says that without the shedding of blood, there's no remission for sins. So it's our belief, which is our foundation, first and foremost, for those of us who are believers. But that's what he wants to attack. And if he can get you to question that, he can get you to question a whole bunch of other things. So with this young man, there was someone who brought a little thought in there, stuck a little thought in, and said, talked about the King James Version Bible, right? And you can Google and find out a lot of different things. A lot of people have a lot of different viewpoints about King James. And that is the version that we like to read. That's the version that we, compared to a lot of others. A lot of them will omit a whole bunch of things, but the King James Version is a version that one that we put a lot of trust and confidence in and teach from this. Amen. So, but the doubt, the seed that was sown there was, what do you know about King James and his lifestyle? And there are some views and some opinions out there concerning him that he was homosexual. Okay, just to put it out there plain and blunt, right? Just talking and keeping it real. And so with that out there, with that seed planted, he says, so why would you trust someone who to translate the Bible for you, right? And from then and there, according to the young man, was that there was some doubt. He had some doubts there. Okay, so that's what we want to talk about, the tactics that Satan uses. Okay, that's the next point here. The tactics that he uses to sow seed of doubt. Right. So, and I'll tell you this too. Immediately thereafter, when she was explaining this to me, and I asked what was the response, he said he didn't have one. He said, he would check into it, right? And that's good. That's good. That's understandable. We're all in different areas of our lives, But we thought that, the person we've been dealing with for a while, that he would have, maybe something else to respond to, that he would be ready to prepare an answer to give, other than, I don't know. So once you question that, then you can say, well, if the word isn't true, then obviously the next point is, you know that God is real, right? How do you know that these things going to church, you attending, assembling yourself with other like-minded people, all those things come into doubt, right? If we do not control our thoughts and our mind, right? Right, so let's look here. This was talked about earlier today, and Walter talked about this in Sunday school. The parable of the sower is what came to mind. And this is what happens here. We know the grounds that we want to talk about this here. This was in some fashions, in some aspect was demonstrated, or you could say that this is where, this person was. Mark 4:16 says, and these are they likewise which are sown on stony ground, who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness. And that's where we are, I think, in just about every situation of our lives. There are some parts of the message in the gospel, the word of God, where we all hear and we receive it with gladness, right? But depending upon your understanding and first and foremost your reverence for God, right, will dictate what happens next. And as we see here, it says that when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness. And then verse 7 says, and have no root in themselves, right? Everybody say no root. No root in themselves. That's, if you're planting something, my mom gave me my mom did not give me a rose bush. She gave Angel a rose bush for, I believe it was Mother's Day, right? But the thing that she was not aware is that Angel doesn't take care of plants. She's like, up to this point she's been a killer of plants. and I'm
we're a bit different.
Well, she's learning how not to be a killer of plants. So, but anyway, so she gave it to me. I said, Mom, I ain't gonna do plants. I'm the one who have to be able to take care of this plant. And so, but when I planted the rose bush, there was some concern initially. There was a lot of rocks there, and it talks about this in the parable of the sower. It's a very powerful story or parable that Christ told. This is something that you should meditate. And initially, when I planted it, I dealt with a lot of rocks that was in the soil. And I tried to remove some of those, and there was some question as to whether or not I dug deep enough into the soil so that it could take hold, and take root, right? Which is what this is talking about. And initially, first couple of weeks, there was some concern. That plant was looking pretty jacked up, as Pastor David said. That plant was looking. And I thought to myself, I said, you know what? I don't think I dug deep enough for this. And I knew that it had enough sun. But that third week or so, it started coming alive. It took a little time. It took a little. I could see the evidence there, as she stated, and it started to flourish. I'm not talking about not just 1 or 2. I mean, this thing was showing out by this time, right? And I'm sending pictures of Mom, and then I say, hey, Mom, she got the plant and everything. But the point is that you have to be founded. You have to have enough faith in word inside of you so that when you hear the word, that it takes root, that it can grow, that it can mature, it can flourish. Okay, that's what this parable is talking about here, or what doesn't take place for a person who does not have root. Okay, and have no root in themselves, and so endure but for a time. And it says, afterward, when affliction or persecution arises for the word's sake, everybody say, for the word's sake, immediately they are offended. And that's what took place with the gentleman that we were dealing with. Okay, is that persecution came. All right, and persecution, as you can see here, it says from the Greek is pressure. Literally and figuratively. And that's what happened when the person approached the gentleman. There was some pressure. If you don't know the answer to something, there's a little pressure there. And especially if someone thinks you should know the answer. Right? They say, hey, you're a Christian, you're a believer, you're no tongue talker, water walker, and all the other things, And he said, you mean tell me you didn't? Did you know what they said about this? Did you know what they said about this version? So there's pressure that comes there. And the question is, what are you going to do? What do you want to do, right? All right, so also let's look at this too. Persecution, like we said, arise for the word's sake. And then that person is offended. And you would think, it was interesting to see what offended means. As you can see, offended from the Greek also says figuratively to stumble or entice to sin. And this isn't the case with everyone in that situation, but guess what? The mind is leaning in that direction when that doubt comes there, right? So our job is to get that mind leaning back, our disposition, our way of thought, our belief system, our ideology, back in the right direction, okay, with the Word of God. But you can see here again it says to entice to sin or apostasy. And you may not recognize that, but you say, well, how did I sin? Well, if you're not doing everything that God says, whatever you're not doing what God said is sin. That's just the bottom line to it. If you're not obeying in what God tells you to do that you know to do, let me phrase and put it that way, that is sin. Okay? And so, and that does include assembling yourself with like-minded people so that you can learn, so that you can get this word. And like, as the Bible says, to desire the sincere milk of the word that you may what? Grow thereby. It's not a problem that you don't know the answer to everything. We don't know the answer to everything, but one thing I know for certain in this place of assembly that if we don't know, we're going to research it. We'll check it. And that's what he wants us to do. We know that that's demonstrated in 1 Thessalonians 5:21. Prove all things, right? And hold fast that which is good. Okay? All right, so it's 5 minutes till. And I'm going to stop at that. And if you don't mind, come back and continue on that on next week. So that's where we are there. If you want to leave this here, so that you can, I know how we do. If I take this home, it's probably a done deal. But I appreciate your time. But next week, I want to get a little bit further into this as far as our responsibility. What should we do to counterattack the works of the enemy, so that our faith we can maintain our faith and stay strong, as it says. Okay.
Turn to Ezekiel 28, please. And this will, another scripture to help confirm what he was talking about in regard to principalities. Every leader has this taking place. And
we're ready, sir.
When you're talking about congregations, as he said, religious wickedness, right. There are spirits also that are assigned by Satan to attack those leaders. Years ago in 79, when God sent me with Amanda's mom, he showed me the spirit up high to my left that was trying to control her. It had to a certain degree in some area because of lack of knowledge. But he sent me to help her and reveal those things so she would know the truth. And then, as it says there, resist the devil so he can flee. But like I said, you can't resist what you don't know is there. And so this is why we work together as a family, as a team, if you will, please, to get it done. But Ezekiel 28, just a couple of 3 verses, and the truth make their way out. Look at verse 1 through 4. Son of man, everybody with me? The word of the Lord came unto me again, came again unto me, saying, Son of man, say unto the prince of Tyrus. Notice that. Prince of Tyrus. Thus said the Lord God, because thine heart is lifted up, my pride, and thou hast said, I am a God, I sit in the seat of God, in the midst of the seas, yet thou art a man. Notice that. This is the Prince of Tyrus, and not God, though thou set thine heart as the heart of God. Behold, thou art wiser than Daniel. We said a whole lot there. There is no secret that they can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thy understanding, thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. And I'll stop right there. Now move down to verse 12. Ezekiel 28, verse 12, he says, Son of man, take up a lamentation upon the king of Tyrus. Notice that. Prince of Tyrus was a man. King of Tyrus, and said to him, now the king is above the prince. Right? Thus said the Lord God, thou sittest up the sun, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was our covering, the stars, topaz, and the diamond, the gold, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, and gold. The workmanship of the tabrets of thy pipes was prepared in the day that thou wast created. Thou art the anointed cherub that covereth. Talking about who? Satan. Lucifer. Right. Lucifer. So as Ephesians 6 said, you got these principalities. These are the rulers of the countries in the world. The prince of Tyrus was a ruler, but Satan was actually controlling that prince. He's the king of Tyrus. That's still today. The presidents, whomever they be, the rulers, the queens, the kings, there are spirits that Satan has assigned to them to actually control their minds to affect the world. And this is why Paul said, pray for the leaders. Talk to God on behalf of the leaders. But a lot of the Christians, they don't do that. They're going to badmouth the president, whomever he may be. Rather than looking at, this is war, and Satan is the arch enemy, and those people that he uses are also enemies too, because they're enemies of God. And as, of course, they can't repent and become a friend of God. That's why, as he read in James 4 about the fact that if we, tongue-talking, water-walking folk, don't keep our minds right, we want to be the enemies of God. Just like he said, James 4. You see. But we can repent, submit to God, and then go on from there. But the idea is that we have to understand it's a spiritual battle. And even though people can be his enemy and sometimes are our enemy and God's enemy, we fight them differently with what we fight Satan. So we learn how to fight Satan. We learn how to fight against the influences of people and fighting people. But you do that by doing good. Because as Proverbs 16:6 says, by mercy and truth, iniquity is purged by kind acts and so forth. And even when God judges a man or a woman because of their sin, that can affect other people in sin to repent. See, some people won't, some people will. But we have to realize that this is where we are and learn from God how to deal with whatever we're confronted by. Or I missed it. How to deal with it. And deal with the people that we got to deal with. And sometimes it's your own wife. Sometimes it's your own husband. Sometimes it's your own child. But we walk in the wisdom of God. That's without a shadow of a doubt. We submit to God, resist the devil, he'll flee from us. And we teach them as well. But this is the idea. We have to walk in the wisdom of God. And we do that, then one real one will be all right. Now, we can't hit everybody, but we help those that we can. Amen? Let's stand and pray in this message.